Hi, I'm Tyrone, and I'm going to be telling you guys my life story in drawing form. I was born on April 4th, 1940, in the state of Opportunities, New York. Then, later in my life, I moved to Alabama, during which I believe was the height of segregation and racism in America. I'm now 25, but I could say growing up in the Deep South definitely opened my eyes at a young age to a truth most young children don't get exposed to. During my life, I experienced a variety of historical events, including the denial of my citizenship to marches for equality. In the 50s, influential characters for the black community arose, like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. I remember the 1940s. White people always lived in these houses that looked alike, called Levittown houses. But my mama always told me we couldn't live there because we were black and white people hated us. There was a court case, Shelley vs. Kramer, in 1948, which didn't allow these restrictive covenants, but that didn't stop them from denying us. It continued, so we moved to crowded apartments in the city, where I could say our closest friends were made. Everyone knew each other, and all was well. Mama always wanted me to get the best education, so she stayed home in the mornings to walk me to school. I thought of it as a long, long walk every day. Today I realized it was 2 miles. I always wondered why I couldn't just go to the school 3 blocks from our home. I mean, they had a big school. It had a huge playground, new books, a school bus, and a cafeteria, which I bet had the most delicious food. I saw the injustice myself in New York, so I believed what Mama always told me. Mama and Papa always said, don't look at a white man in the eye. I didn't understand why a person had more opportunities and respect than me, just because he looked like a bleached white banana. You could say even in New York I didn't have a normal childhood. Mama and Papa again always said, no, you can't go to the zoo today because it's our turn on Thursdays. It was something I had to live with. When I was 14, me and my mom moved to Alabama. I don't know why she wanted to move to Alabama, since my experiences there were probably worse than in New York. We stayed in a slum in a black community where everyone shared gumbo and stories every night. Church was great. We attended Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, where you guys might know a certain man named Martin Luther King Jr. was our pastor. I could say the first day of school was the hardest. In Alabama, we would walk a long ways like in New York. But here, white people would insult us everywhere we went. Mama held my hand tightly with her head down. Even the youngest of children would call us names. Then, that very same year, a huge case decision took place, called Brown versus Board of Education. The whole separate but equal mantra I've been hearing since I was young from that notorious case Mama always told me about, Plessy versus Ferguson, in 1896 was overturned. Heck, we black people have been complaining about that for years, but no white man even listened to us until now. Now under the law we were considered equal, but racism was still rampant. Mama always said, stay strong, but I knew I couldn't live like this.
The bleached bananas would try stopping me, but I liked learning new things at school because I didn't have to walk 2 miles anymore. But learning was fun. I was doing well in school, and I thought I had the same opportunities as everyone else. I thought it was fun whenever we did our duck and cover drills because I liked curling up under a table and wasting class time. Plus, Bert the Turtle was hilarious. He taught us proper procedures of the duck and cover technique. We learned fire drills and earthquake drills too, but duck and cover was the best, which might be useful. Safety first, you know? It was supposed to help us from nuclear attacks, but to be honest, I think curling up in a ball won't help you that much. I mean, look at those Japanese people from World War II. When we bombed them in 1945, sure didn't help them much. We're in a Cold War now. America and Russia want to make the best nuclear bombs to kill thousands of people. We were also required to have the polio vaccine, which made us immune to polio, and that made us the healthiest generation ever. That was good for me, but that meant those rude white people were healthy too. When I was 15, I heard about Rosa Parks, some crazy lady who sat in the white person side of a bus. Well, of course, after that, our black community announced a boycott of public transportation, but that didn't bother me since I walked to school anyway. Mama would go to these protests, but she wouldn't let me come. One time I tried sneaking out with my friends to a protest, I was sent back home. Pastor Martin Luther King led a lot of these boycotts, and finally in 1956, the Supreme Court ruled bus segregation as unconstitutional. My neighbor, Mr. Jones, had his face in the newspaper for leading a protest. I thought he was a hero. But then the very next day, a group of those nasty white KKK members, wearing blankets for clothes like cavemen, burned a huge wooden cross in the front of our house. That night, I was very scared. I wondered why someone would do that to an innocent family. I moved back to New York by myself by train, without Mama who was working. Mr. Jones, I heard, was lynched by the Klan. Papa was waiting for me there, so I guess Mama had sent him a letter. Papa was so happy to see me, he started crying and singing "Oh Lord Almighty" over and over. He looked older, but he was doing pretty well financially. He bought me a brand new car and I practiced driving in it, and he sent Mama a letter to come back home too. She should have just come home with me. Then I remember the interstate highways. That increased the amount of cars leaving the cities to go live in the suburbs. Us blacks stayed though, for work, living in crowded apartments in the cities. I remember, I was happy to see the bananas go. Lots and lots of whites moved to the Sun Belt, to the exotic Texas, Arizona, and California. More and more blacks also migrated to Chicago and New York City, where blues and jazz was born. Music was one way to escape oppression from the outside society. I even met the Louis Armstrong. Of course, white people had to copy us even when they were scorning us to our faces. A white man named Elvis Presley took our music style and made it popular. Rock and roll, they said. It was good, I guess. I liked it. By the time Mama came back in 1957, the South was doing slightly better. The Civil Rights Act had been passed and there was this huge incident in a Little Rock school. 9 brave students tried getting to school and troops were sent to escort them there, under the direction of President Eisenhower. Then came the 60s, where I am now. For the first time, I was hearing about the outside world besides good old America, someplace called Vietnam. I see these crazy white people in weird long robes and long hair and long belts marching around screaming obscenities for the end of the Vietnam War. The South is on its way. It's still developing. I hope that people just get over themselves and get together to stop this whole racism thing. But I feel blessed as a person because this has shaped me to be who I was. I don't regret any of it.
The story of my life.